Look, two people, same salary, same city, same exact income. One of them is broke, paycheck to paycheck, stressed about money every single day. The other one, building wealth, sleeping fine at night, actually enjoying life. Here's the thing. The difference between them has nothing to do with how much they earn. It's not about a raise, it's not some secret side hustle. The gap between rich and broke at the same income, it comes down to 5 decisions. That's it, 5 choices. And most people get all 5 of them completely wrong. My name is Ricky, and I spend way too much time thinking about why people who make good money still end up broke. If you're someone who feels like you make decent income but you're still living paycheck to paycheck, if you look at your bank account and wonder where all the money went, this video is for you. Because what I'm about to show you is probably going to make you uncomfortable. It made me uncomfortable when I first realized it. But understanding this difference, this is what separates people who build wealth from people who stay broke forever. So let me paint you a picture. You're making $50,000 a year, maybe 60, maybe 70. You're not rich, but you're not supposed to be broke either, right? Yet somehow, every month feels like a struggle. You pay your bills, you buy groceries, you handle your rent or mortgage, and then you look at your account 2 weeks later and there's like 200 bucks left. You're thinking, where did it all go? You don't feel like you're living crazy. You're not buying designer clothes every week. You're not eating at expensive restaurants every night. You're just living. But living somehow costs everything you make. And here's what really gets me. You probably know someone who makes about the same as you, similar jobs, similar life situation, but they seem fine. They're not stressed, they take vacations, they're saving money somehow, and you're looking at them like, what am I doing wrong? Because it feels personal, right? It feels like you're the problem, like you're bad with money, like you don't have discipline, like you're just not smart enough to figure this out. Um, that's not what's happening. What's actually happening is that you're playing a completely different game than they are. You think you're both playing the same game because you make the same money, but you're not. They're playing chess, you're playing checkers. And the worst part? Nobody ever taught you the rules to chess. You're out here thinking, I just need to make more money and then I'll be fine. So you work harder, you look for promotions, you think about side hustles. And I'm not saying more money doesn't help. But I've seen people making $150,000 a year who are still broke. I've seen people making $40,000 who are building actual wealth. The income isn't the issue. The issue is that there are 5 fundamental decisions that determine whether you end up rich or broke. And most people don't even realize they're making these decisions. They just do what everyone else does, what feels normal, what society tells you to do. And what feels normal is usually the exact thing keeping you broke. If this is helping you see things differently, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up right now. Seriously, it helps more than you know. Here's what most people believe. They believe that being good with money means being cheap. That if you want to build wealth, you have to stop enjoying life, cut out coffee, stop going out, live like you're broke even when you're not. And that belief, that's why people stay broke. Because they try that approach for like 2 weeks, they hate it, and then they give up completely. Now, the people who build wealth on normal incomes aren't miserable. They're not depriving themselves of everything. What they're doing is completely different. They're making different trade-offs than you are. And here's the key word: trade-offs. Every dollar you spend is a trade-off. You're trading it for something. Sometimes you're trading it for now, a nice dinner, a new shirt, a subscription you barely use. Sometimes you're trading it for later, freedom, options, peace of mind. Broke people make all their trades for now. Wealthy people balance their trades between now and later. That's it. That's the whole game. Let me show you the math on this. I'm going to introduce you to 2 people who will make this crystal clear. Let's say you and someone else both make $60,000 a year. After taxes, you're both bringing home about $45,000, roughly $3,700 a month. Same money, same starting point. Person A, we'll call them Brandon. Person B, we'll call them Whitney. 5 years from now, Brandon is going to have basically nothing saved, probably credit card debt. Whitney is going to have about $60,000 in investments plus a fully funded emergency fund. Same income, completely different outcomes. And the difference isn't that Whitney got lucky, isn't that she got an inheritance. The difference is 5 specific decisions, 5 choices that seem small in the moment, but compound like crazy over time. Let me show you exactly what those are. Decision number 1, how you think about fixed expenses. This is the big one, the one that matters more than almost anything else. Your fixed expenses are things like rent, car payments, insurance, subscriptions, stuff that hits your account every single month whether you think about it or not. Here's the thing. Broke people maximize their fixed expenses. They get the nicest apartment they can afford, the newest car they can technically make payments on. They add subscriptions without ever removing old ones. And they think, I can afford the payment, so it's fine. But wealthy people minimize fixed expenses, not because they're cheap, but because they understand something crucial. Every dollar you commit to fixed expenses is a dollar you lose flexibility on. It's a dollar you can't invest, can't save, can't use for opportunities. Let me show you real numbers. Brandon gets that $3,700 after taxes. He finds an apartment for $1,500 a month. It's nice, it's safe, his friends are impressed. His car payment is $450 a month. New car, looks good, totally affordable. Insurance, subscriptions, phone bill, another $300 a month. His fixed expenses, $2,250 a month. That leaves him $1,450 for everything else. Food, gas, entertainment, clothes, saving, emergencies, everything. Whitney makes the same $3,700, but she finds an apartment for $1,100. Still decent, still safe, just not Instagram worthy. She bought a used car for cash, no payment, just insurance at $120 a month. Subscriptions and phone bill, she keeps it to $150. Her fixed expenses, $1,370 a month. That leaves her $2,330 for everything else. Now check this out. Brandon has $1,450 left over, Whitney has $2,330. Same income, but Whitney has almost $1,000 more flexibility every single month. That's $12,000 a year of flexibility. And here's what people miss. That flexibility is what allows you to build wealth. Because broke people think, I'll save whatever's left at the end of the month. But there's never anything left. Your expenses expand to fill whatever space you give them. If you have $1,450 left after fixed expenses, you'll spend $1,450. If you have $2,330 left, you won't automatically spend it all. You have room to breathe, room to save, room to invest, room to handle emergencies without going into debt. Decision number 2, the emergency fund versus debt cycle. This one's brutal because most people are stuck in it right now. Here's how it works. You don't have an emergency fund. Something breaks, your car needs repairs, medical bill, whatever. You don't have the cash, so you put it on a credit card. Now you're paying interest on that emergency every month, which means you have even less money left over, which means the next emergency also goes on a credit card, and the cycle continues. Brandon doesn't prioritize an emergency fund. He thinks, I'll get to it eventually, but eventually never comes because he's always dealing with the current crisis. Whitney does something different. Before she invests anything, before she does anything else, she builds a small emergency fund, just $1,000 to start. It's not enough for everything, but it's enough to handle small emergencies without debt. Then she builds it to 1 month of expenses, then 3 months. And here's the magic. Once you have an emergency fund, emergencies stop creating debt, which means you stop paying interest on bad luck, which means you have more money to save and invest. This is the foundation. You can't build wealth while you're paying 20% interest on credit cards. Break the cycle first, then build up.
Decision number 3, car psychology. This is where people really mess up. And I get it, I totally get it. Because in America especially, your car feels like a statement about who you are. We've been trained to think that successful people drive nice cars. But here's the reality. Your car is not an investment. It's a depreciating asset that costs you money every single month. Brandon buys a $30,000 car with a loan. He puts $3,000 down, finances $27,000 at 6% interest for 5 years. His payment? $522 a month. Over those 5 years, he'll pay over $31,000 total for that car. And at the end, the car is worth maybe $15,000 if he's lucky. Whitney buys a $10,000 used car with cash. Same reliability, gets her from point A to point B, just not as shiny. No payment, just maintenance and insurance. Now let's do the math over 5 years. Brandon spends $31,000 on his car. Whitney spends $10,000 on her car plus, let's say, $3,000 in maintenance over 5 years. That's $13,000 total. The difference? $18,000 over 5 years. But wait, it gets better. Because Whitney doesn't have that $500 monthly payment, so she invests it instead. $522 a month for 5 years at 8% average return. That grows to about $38,000. So Brandon spent $31,000 and has a car worth $15,000. Net position, negative $16,000. Whitney spent $13,000 and has a car worth maybe $6,000 plus $38,000 in investments. Net position, positive $31,000. Same income, $47,000 difference in net worth. $47,000 from one decision about what you drive. Think about that. And over a lifetime, if Brandon keeps financing cars every 5 years for 40 years, while Whitney keeps buying used and investing that $500 payment, we're talking about $1.7 million in difference. $1.7 million from one decision. Your car gets you from A to B. It doesn't define your worth. Choose accordingly. Decision number 4. Lifestyle inflation. This is the silent killer. You get a raise, you make more money, you think, finally, now I can breathe. And then you don't breathe. You upgrade your life to match your new income. Nicer place, better car, more expensive habits, and you end up in the exact same position you were before, just with nicer stuff. Brandon gets a $5,000 raise. That's about $400 more a month after taxes. He immediately upgrades his apartment, gets a nicer place for $300 more a month, buys a few things he's been wanting, eats out more because he deserves it. End result? He's still broke, just broke with nicer things. Whitney gets the same raise. She keeps her lifestyle exactly the same. That extra $400 a month goes straight to investments. Over 10 years, that $400 a month at 8% return becomes about $73,000. I'm not saying you can never upgrade your lifestyle, but here's the rule wealthy people follow. When your income goes up, save and invest at least 50% of that increase. You can enjoy the other 50%, but half of every raise goes to your future self. That way, you're still improving your life now, but you're also building wealth. Most people do the opposite. They spend 100% of every raise and wonder why they're still struggling. Brandon upgrades everything, feels successful, stays broke. Whitney banks half, still enjoys life, builds wealth. 10 years later, Whitney has options Brandon can't even imagine. Not because she made more money, because she made better choices with the money she made. Decision number 5. The investment gap. This is the one that separates people forever. Broke people think investing is something you do after you're rich. Wealthy people know investing is how you become rich. Brandon thinks, I'll start investing when I have more money, so he never starts. Whitney starts immediately, even if it's just $50 a month. And here's what's wild about investing. Time matters more than amount. Starting early with a little beats starting late with a lot, every single time. Let me show you something that'll blow your mind. Whitney invests $500 a month from age 25 to age 35. Just 10 years. That's $60,000 invested. Then she stops completely. Never invests another dollar. Brandon waits. He invests $500 a month from age 35 to age 65. 30 years. That's $180,000 invested. At 8% average return, who ends up with more at age 65? Whitney, by a lot, even though she invested way less money, because she had time on her side. Time in the market beats timing the market. Compound interest is the most powerful force in finance, but it only works if you give it time. Brandon thought he'd start later when he had more money. Whitney started immediately with what she had. 20 years later, Brandon is finally getting serious about investing. Whitney is already financially independent. Same income when they started. One simple decision made all the difference. Start now, not next month, not next year, now.
Even if it's $25 a month, even if it feels like it won't make a difference, start. Because the best time to start investing was 10 years ago. The second best time is today. So let's fast forward 5 years. Brandon and Whitney, same starting income, 5 years of different decisions. Brandon still makes $60,000 a year. He's in the same apartment. Actually, he upgraded once, so now he pays $1,700 a month. Still has a car payment, traded in the old one for a newer model. Payment is still around $500. His savings account? About $4,000. Retirement account? Maybe whatever his employer puts in, maybe $15,000 total. Credit card debt? $8,000. Net worth? Basically zero, maybe slightly negative. He looks successful on the surface, nice car, decent place, but he's one emergency away from financial disaster, and he feels it. The stress is always there. Whitney still makes $60,000 a year. Same modest apartment, same paid-off used car. Her emergency fund, 6 months of expenses, about $12,000. Investment accounts, $58,000. Credit card debt, zero. Net worth, $70,000. Remember that $60,000 in investments I mentioned earlier? Add her $12,000 emergency fund, that's where we are. She looks average on the surface, drives an older car, lives in a normal apartment. But she sleeps well at night. She has options. She has freedom. She has peace of mind. And here's what's interesting. When you talk to them, Brandon feels like he's living better. He has the nicer car, the nicer place. He looks more successful. But Whitney actually is successful. She could lose her job tomorrow and be fine for 6 months. She could take a risk, start a business, pursue something she loves. Brandon is trapped. He needs that paycheck. He can't miss a payment. One decision multiplied by 5 choices equals completely different lives. Same income, different outcomes. And 10 years from now, the gap will be even wider. Brandon will still be making payments, still living paycheck to paycheck, still stressed. Whitney will be financially independent, maybe retired early, definitely living life on her terms. Not because she made more money, not because she got lucky, because she made better choices with the money she made. Here's what nobody talks about. Being broke isn't about the money in your account. It's about having no options. It's about being trapped, stuck, unable to make choices. You stay in a job you hate because you need the paycheck. You can't take risks because you can't afford to fail. You can't help your family because you can't even help yourself. That's what broke really means. Wealth isn't about being rich. It's about having options. It's about freedom, flexibility, the ability to make choices based on what you want, not what you can afford. And you don't need millions to have that. You need 6 months of expenses saved. You need no bad debt. You need some investments growing. That's achievable on a normal income. If you make different choices than everyone else around you. Minimize fixed expenses, build an emergency fund, avoid car debt, resist lifestyle inflation, start investing early. Those 5 decisions. That's it. Do those 5 things differently than everyone else around you, and in 10 years, your life will look completely different. Not because you made more money, because you made better choices with the money you had. The choice is yours. You can look rich and be broke, or you can look average and actually be wealthy. One path leads to stress, the other leads to freedom. Choose wisely. 10 years from now, you'll look back at this moment and you'll either think, that's when everything changed, or you'll still be wondering where all your money went. Same income, different decisions, different life. The choice isn't complicated. It's just uncomfortable. And that discomfort is the price of freedom. If this video helped you see money differently, make sure you're subscribed. Comment below right now, which of these 5 decisions do you need to work on
first? Is it fixed expenses, emergency fund, the car situation, lifestyle inflation, or starting to invest? Drop a comment. I'll read through them. Pick one, start there, build momentum. You don't have to fix everything at once, just make one different choice than you made yesterday. then another one tomorrow. That's how you go from broke to wealthy on the same income everyone else has. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.